Yes, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to this session of Sustainable Construction Methods. I myself Irfan Ahmed. Today I'll be dealing with this subject. This is for third year, second semester. Basically what this subject deals is with, as the global urbanization is taking place rapidly and very huge structures are coming up day by day, we need to come up with some solutions where we can come up with some methods which are very sustainable to the environment. What is happening one side where there is rapid globalization and huge structures are coming up, the other side of the coin, if you see, there are other issues also coming up of global warming, as well as many resources are getting finished day by day. So we need to come up with some solution where we can use available materials or available resources efficiently. Let us see that. Let us start with the topic now. Basically formwork. As civil engineers, what happens, basically we are more concerned about the design part of the structure. It is very essential. I agree with that. It is very essential. Design should be very good enough, where you come up with huge floors of G+10 or G+20. The design part is very much essential. But what happens is, initially when we are executing the work on the field, what happens is formwork plays a very important role here. If the formwork is not proper, or the formwork has been not installed properly, then there are huge chances of the whole structure coming down, and big collapses have taken place. In 1975 in America, a huge building of a huge skyscraper, you can say, had a collapse just because of improper formwork or early removal of formwork. This was the issue. So formwork is a very important factor which plays in construction of a structural member and the structure. So even if the formwork is so essential, about 30 to 40% of the construction cost is related to this formwork. Let us see today what is the formwork and different types of formworks and all the other things related to it. We'll be seeing this today. You can see here what all contents we'll be seeing here. Definition of formwork. What does formwork mean? We'll be seeing that. Requirements of a good formwork. As I had told you, good formwork is very essential. How essential it is, we'll be seeing that in this topic here. Categories of formwork, how the formwork is categorized, even that we'll be seeing here. And the types of formwork. There are different types of formwork like timber and steel and aluminum and plastic formwork. Different types of formwork, what role they play, we'll be seeing that also today. And process of formwork construction, how they should be erected part by part in different steps, even that we'll be seeing here. Deshuttering, basically deshuttering is that process where we remove the formwork. So the removal of the formwork is also very essential and very important here. Failure of formwork, as I had told you, it can lead to, if the formwork is not erected properly and not if it is removed beforehand, then there are big failures which have occurred in many parts of the world. One of the examples which I gave of America, even in Bangladesh, what happened, early removal of formwork led to collapse of G+5 building. Even this happened in Bangladesh. Same way, you can see what are the safety precautions we require. We will be seeing that also today. Let us see here what is formwork. We will be seeing that today. You can see here, formwork is a mold or open box like container into which fresh concrete is poured and compacted. So basically it is a container. You can see here, it is a container into which fresh concrete is poured and compacted. You can just understand a simple thing is, if the container is not proper, whatever you're pouring, it will leak, or it will lead to honeycomb as well as slushing also. So here the formwork should be very good, wherein the concrete can be poured and the weight of concrete is very it has very weight. The concrete has a very huge load in it, so that formwork should be proper here. So fresh concrete is poured and compacted, that is called as formwork. When the concrete is set, the formwork is removed and a solid mass is produced in the shape of an inner face of the formwork. You can see here, after the days where we have to leave the formwork for some days, which we'll be seeing in the coming slides, for how many days the formwork should be kept, all that will be seen. beam. So after removing that, you can see that concrete which you have poured into this formwork, it takes a big mass. It's solid mass. It takes a solid mass here. It becomes into a solid mass. You must have seen, if the formwork is not erected properly, you must have seen at some places when the formwork fails, at those places you can see the concrete coming off. So it is very important to see where we have come up with good formwork. It should be capable of carrying all imposed dead and live loads apart from its own weight. You can see it should be able to carry dead load, all the dead load, that is self weight, and the live load also. Live load, what is the dead load is its self weight of the concrete, and what is the live load? Basically live load is the load of the people moving over it while casting the concrete, casting the structure. So even it should be able to take the dead load as well as the live load apart from its own work. So formwork should be such good enough where it can compact properly and as well as take the different loads coming onto it. Let us see here. Let us see the next slide. You can see here different types of formwork. You can just see how the formwork has been erected here. You can see this is the strut jack, this is a strut jack. This same strut jack has been placed here, and this formwork, first the excavation had been done, the mud was removed till here, till this part the mud was removed, and after that the formwork has been erected here for the columns. You can see here for the columns, this is the column, your formwork, this is the column, your formwork is being erected here, placed here, your formwork has been placed here. You can see the strut jack, this is the same strut jack. You can see here, you can just see here, this will be visible. You can see the strut jack. So this is the strut jack which has been placed here. The same way this formwork has been set up for the column. Now you can see the formwork which has been placed for the raft slab, You can see here, this is the raft slab, this whole part is your raft slab. Basically, which is the raft slab, where the SBC of the soil, where the soil bearing capacity is very low. At those places what happens, the soil is not able to bear any load. So at that place what happens, we come up with this raft slab. So for the raft slab also, this whole formwork has been casted here, this whole formwork. You can see here the whole formwork. This is basically, what did we tell? The formwork is a container in which a fresh concrete is placed and compacted. So here you can see the reinforcement here. This whole reinforcement has been placed here. On the formwork, the reinforcement has been placed, and then over that the fresh concrete will be poured in it. So basically, a formwork is very essential component in the structure. Let us see here requirements of a good formwork. Now how the formwork should be, even that is very much essential. Let us see. Materials should be cheap and reusable. See, this is very much important. You can't go up with some formwork. You can see materials should be cheap and reusable. See, this is very much important, cheap and reusable. See, there are different types of formwork still available, but which are very costly, and because of that, the cost of construction of the project can increase. So the first point is the material should be cheap, and we should be able to reuse also. Even that is more important. You must have seen timber formwork. We use it at one place, and it can be used at different places also. So there are different formworks which has advantages. So this is the first thing. Swelling and shrinkage should be minimum. What happens when we pour fresh concrete onto the formwork? If the formwork is made up of timber, what happens there is a swelling in that timber material. Swelling takes place, and sometimes even shrinkage takes place because of the wood which we are using in the formwork. So this is very important. Swelling and shrinkage should be minimum. Shrinkage and swelling will be there, but it should be minimum. That we have to see that. Surface should be smooth and afford easy stripping. See, the surface should be smooth enough. Sometimes what happens, if the surface of the formwork is not smooth enough, then what happens, then we have the structural members which becomes a solid mass. They get an uneven shape. So it is very essential we should have a good surface, smooth and affordable, light and weight, so that easy to transfer. If the formwork is very heavy, where we come up with huge structures where G+5 and and high-rise structures, more than G+10 and all, at those places it will be very difficult to transfer this formwork from one floor to the other floor. So even this is important. It should be light in weight so that it will be very easy to transfer. It should be light in weight also. It should be practically waterproof so that it should not absorb water from concrete. See this, as I had told you, it should be waterproof. We should try to come up with a formwork which is waterproof also. If it is not waterproof, then what will happen is the formwork will take the water, and because of that there are chances of swelling also. So it is very essential it should be waterproof also. The material of formwork should not warp or get distorted when exposed to elements. Sometimes what happens if the formwork is not proper, because different materials are used here, where we come up with first we place the reinforcement, then we pour the concrete into it. Because of that, what happens is sometimes the formwork gets warped. As I told you, if the formwork is distorted, it will lead to the failure of the formwork, and because of that there have been chances where the whole structure had come down and a big loss had taken place. It had occurred in many places also. So it is very essential the formwork should not get distorted also. The next is the joints in the formwork should be tight against leakage of cement grout. Sometimes what happens at the corners, like for example when we are casting a beam, because there you can see we get joints, the formwork is erected. At those places, if there is leakage from that place, the slush comes out, the liquid comes out, then the water with the cement slurry, it comes out. Because of that there are disadvantages. What happens, the cement, the amount of cement which we have poured into the concrete, that is oozed away, and because of that the structure loses its strength also. So it is very important that the formwork shouldn't have leakage also. It is sometimes what happens when the formwork becomes old, there are high chances of leakage at that places. So we should see that formwork should be tight against leakage also. Next, deflection should be minimum because of the high intensity of load coming onto the formwork of fresh concrete and people also moving over the surface. Then there are high chances of deflection. So we should see that the formwork is so strong enough, so there shouldn't be deflection also. So this is how the formwork should be. Let us see categories of formwork. There are different categories in formwork also. Let us see that here. Conventional. You can see here, conventional, the formwork is built on site out of timber or moisture resistant particle board. You must have seen basically in the previous years this type of formwork was only used. It was laid at the place of site only. On site only this formwork was fixed there on site only. So it is easy to produce but time consuming for larger structures, and plywood facing has a relatively short lifespan. You must have seen this type of formwork, timber formwork, where we attach one after the other as per our requirement. What is the benefit of this type of formwork is whatever size of formwork we need, whatever size of structure comes, there this formwork is it is very beneficial here. We can cut it into whatever size we want and we can place it here. So this is the conventional formwork which has been used for many years. So it is still used extensively, where the labor costs are lower than the cost for procuring reusable formwork. It is very much used nowadays also, but still with developments, different formwork coming up, this type of formwork is not used that much which it was used beforehand. So this is the conventional formwork. Let us see modern day formwork. Now with the development what has come up now, we'll see that here. This formwork system was mostly modular. See, basically you can see here, this is the modular formwork which are designed for speed and efficiency. What happens is this formwork, they are already casted before as per our requirement in the industry and got to the site and fixed with the nuts and bolt system. It is very easy. You just what type of formwork you want, you place an order and you get that type of formwork, where you are saving your time. Lot of time is being saved because of this modern day formwork. So it is mostly modular, which are designed for speed and efficiency. They are very efficient and it saves a lot of time also. The main type of formwork system is used now are table form, flying formwork. This is the main type of the formwork unit. System column formwork. This is also a type of column. This is used for column. And the slip formwork and tunnel formwork. We'll be seeing it in the later slides. What are the different types of this formworks also. Let us see. You can just see here. See, this is the formwork. which is used here, the modern day formwork. You must have seen this where the metro line has been coming up in our city. This type of formwork you must have seen used. See this type of formwork. You can see this is the huge column which takes the load of the heavy structure coming over it. It has different structure comes over it, and over that the metro train has to pass over it. So this is the module of formwork. You can just see these are the struts we had seen here. These are the struts. These are the struts which are being used just to resist. When you can just imagine how big this column is, and just imagine when huge amount of concrete is poured into it, what happens? There are chances of this formwork coming off. So that just to reduce that failure, we provide these struts here. We are providing these struts. You can see here this struts, this struts, this strut. The same way, you can see the formwork how they are casted here. Also huge structures. Sometimes what happens, the size of the one slab from the bottom is very much high, where if it is a commercial building, or you come up with some places where there are chances of high occupancy of those places, that time what happen, we come up with a slab from the bottom. The slab is about 14 feet. So at those places we need this type of formwork here. So you can just see here, let us see this type of formwork. This is a circular tank is being constructed here. For that you can see what type of formwork is used here. What type of formwork? A circular tank. So you can see just around the whole circular tank. You can see here around the whole circular tank. This is the formwork from here. You can just see from here the whole formwork is being placed here, and you can see this is the reinforcement. You can see this is the steel. If the formwork is proper, then only the steel gets the chance to rest over it. You can just see here this is the circular type of formwork. This is the circular type of formwork. This is being casted for construction of circular water tanks, overhead water tanks, you can see. And this you can see here, this formwork has been placed for a deck slab. Basically this is a deck slab. This deck slab is placed at those places where we want free passage or movement of traffic below it. So this is the deck slab. For that deck slab, as the technology has increased, most of the time precast members, prefabricated members are already casted in industry. They are got onto the site and placed here. Sometimes what happens, where there are no options available for precast or prefabrication of members, at that time we go for erection of members on site only. You can see how you can see this erection. You can just see this. This is the formwork. This is the steel formwork, huge formwork, modular formwork, where you can fix it with the nut and bolt system. It is very important here because the load coming onto this formwork is very heavy. At these places we can't use timber formwork. So at these places where the load is very much high, we use this type of steel formwork. So anyway, this was with the steel formwork. You can see here. Let us see here prefabricated formwork. As I had told you how important prefabricated formwork is, this formwork is built out of prefabricated modules. Prefabricated modules. You can just see here prefabricated modules. See, this formwork is built out of prefabricated modules with a metal frame and covered on the application on the concrete side with material having wanted surface structure. You can see here simple what size of our structural element is coming. We decide, as it is decided beforehand. What we do is we come up with this prefabricated formwork. This is the prefabricated formwork. This is the prefabricated formwork. You can see here the whole. You can see here you have circular column here, as well as then you have wall here, concrete wall here. You can see this is the concrete wall here, this is a circular column here. So what here we do is, at these places where we require a specific type of formwork, there we pre-order it, we prefabricate it as per our requirement, and we get it onto the site, and we place it onto the site. We erect it here. You can just see here, this is the prefabricated formwork. It is very good. You can just see here, this is the strut which is supporting it, because there are chances of this formwork failing. So that to minimize those chances of failure, we use even the struts here. Let us see the next slide here. Now, what are the major objectives considered in formwork? What should we see? Basically, the first thing is quality. The quality of the formwork should be very good. It is very essential. If the quality is not good, then as I had told you, the cost of construction increases because of bad type of formwork what we are using. If the quality of the formwork is not good, then the construction cost will be increased. You can see safety is very much important. Most of the places where there was failure of formwork, there was a loss of property as well as life also. So safety is very much important. If we are using some old formwork, then there are high chances of failure. So safety is very much important, as well as economy. We can't afford to come up with such high amount of formwork, which is very costly. So even the economy part also has to be seen here. Let us see a quality. Forms must be designed and built with sufficient stiffness and accuracy so that the size, shape, position and the finish of the cast concrete are maintained. As I told you, the quality is very essential. If the quality is not maintained properly, so the cost of construction is increased because of just usage of bad quality of formwork. You can see the safety. Forms must be built sufficient strength and factor of safety so that they have capable for all supporting loads. Safety is very much important. Sometimes what happens during the construction, there are chances of some accidental loading also. Sometimes it happens, accidental loads come up onto the structure. The formwork should be such sufficient enough. It should be able to bear any accidental load coming onto it also. As there is already dead load coming onto it, there is live load coming onto it, then it should be able to resist any accidental load also coming onto it. So this is the safety part. Economy, forms will be built efficiently, minimizing the time and cost. The time and cost also should be seen. We just can't go up with some formwork which has very high strength, but the cost is increasing. So even this is important. Types of formwork materials, let us see this. We have the different types. We have timber, steel, plastic and aluminum. These are the different types of formwork which are used here. Let us see. Timber formwork, as you can see, most common material used for bracing the member, hence called as traditional. This is the traditional formwork which has been used from you can say from centuries. This type of formwork is being used. This is the timber. As the timber is available very easily into the market, and it is not that costly also. So this is the timber formwork, is the traditional formwork. This is the timber formwork. You can see here all this part. You can just see here, as you can see here, this part. Just see this part here. This timber has been cut as per our requirement. This is the benefit of using timber formwork. Can easily be cut to size on site. It has been cut on size here. They wanted some hole here, so this timber has been cut here, and wherever required, this timber can be cut and fixed as per our requirement. So timber formwork is that type of formwork which has been used from many centuries. You can just see here, this is the staircase which has been erected using this timber formwork. A very big benefit of this type of formwork is you can just see here, these are the steps, and even this part has been erected. This part also has been erected using this timber only. Whatever size of stairs we want, you can just cut that size of timber and you can place the formwork here. You can see here the same thing here. This part also you can see here, just this type of slab. You can see here, this is the column. Over this column, this is the timber formwork which has been erected here. This is the timber formwork, all this part. So whatever the size of your formwork is, that can be easily erected here as per our requirement. So here, so this was the timber formwork. It is very essential, and it is used even now, though different types of formwork have come up, but still this type of formwork is still used now. Let us see the next type, advantages. Now let us see the advantages of timber formwork. Easily handling because of its lightweight. As we had seen in the previous slides, as we had seen here in the previous slides, just here, it should be lightweight. We should be able to, it should be lightweight, where we can transport it from one place to the other place, from one floor to the other floor. It should be lightweight. We had seen this. It is easy to disassemble also. What happens if the formwork is if we can't disassemble it, then what happens? The cost of the construction can increase. So it is timber formwork has this benefit. It is easy to disassemble also. Damaged parts can be replaced with a new one. See what happens? Whereas if you see in a steel formwork, the damaged part, the whole formwork has to be removed. Whereas here in this timber formwork, only the damaged part can be replaced with the other timber formwork. It has good thermal insulation, which makes it useful to be used in colder regions. See, so it can be used in colder regions also. It is very good where the insulation also it can take. So it can be used in colder regions also. Reduce site labor. See, because of this, the labor is also reduced because of this type of formwork. Though if we use steel formwork, there what happens is the labor has to be increased because of this its weight and everything. Here timber is very lightweight, so reduced labor is also there. Can be built to exceed 60 years design life. You can just see the design life of this timber formwork. It has a design life of 60 years. So it can be reused also. Where we had seen the formwork should be such which it can be reused also. So this can happen. This is the benefits of timber formwork. Let us see what is the other formwork. Let us see disadvantages. What we have with the timber formwork, it can't be used for long, have limited reuse. So reuse is also not there with some erection from one place to the other. The timber it can't be reused again and again. If timber is dry, it will absorb moisture from wet concrete, which could weaken the resultant concrete member. So if it is dry, as we had told, what happens? It absorbs moisture. Because of that, there are chances of swelling in the timber also. And because of that, when it swells, and sometimes it shrinks also. Where it swells, the same type, it shrinks also. So this is the problem which is there with the timber formwork. This is the problem is there. So it is dry, it absorbs moisture. Because of this, as it absorbs this moisture, then it could weaken the concrete also. Because of this, the concrete also gets weakened. The timber with high moisture content with more than 20%, wet concrete will shrink and cup, leading to open joints and leakage of grout. So what happens is here, if the timber, if there is high moisture content, then there are chances of shrinkage also. So shrinkage also takes place. As I had told you, there is swelling as well as shrinkage also, and there are chances of leakage in the joints also. So these are the disadvantages which is related with the timber formwork. Let us see here what is the steel formwork. What are the advantages of steel formwork? Steel forms are stronger. It can take huge amount of load also. It can take good amount of load also. It is stronger, it is durable, it is more good than the timber formwork, and it can be reused also. You can just see here, it can be reused also. Steel forms can be installed and dismantled also. It can be dismantled with greater ease. You can just see here. It is better than the timber formwork. You can just see, as I had told you, the timber formwork can't be used at different sites one after the other, whereas the steel forms, it has high design life more than you can just see. This is as it is prefabricated. This formwork can be used at different places also. It can be used at more places. You can see a steel forms can be installed and dismantled also. Installed and dismantled also. You can just see here. Just see this part. See, steel forms can be installed and dismantled with greater ease. So it can be installed easily as well as it can be dismantled also easily. So this is the benefit of the steel formwork. You can just see here, most of the places steel formwork is only used nowadays. As we want to reduce the time consumption, you can see, you must have seen this type of formwork. Most of the places this type of formwork. You can just see here, this is a huge overhead water tank which has been coming up. So at this place, this steel formwork is being casted. As I told you, it can be prefabricated, and as per our need, you can just see here, this formwork, it is made up of steel, it is prefabricated, and as per our need it can be casted here. So this formwork is very essential. It has very many benefits more than the timber formwork. It is very strong and able to carry loads. As I told you, the amount of loads which can be carried by the timber formwork, this steel formwork can carry more loads when compared to the timber formwork. You can see it is easy to be fixed, as it has nut and bolt system. It can be fixed easily as well as removed also easily. Uniform size and surface, as I told you, the surface should be smooth enough, because what happens after the concrete has been poured, when the de-shuttering is done, at that time if the surface is not uniform, then the structural members don't have a good shape and size. It can be used for more number of times, where compared to timber formwork it can be used more extensively, whereas it is more durable than timber formwork. It has good life. When compared to the timber formwork, it has huge life. Next, no shrinkage of formwork occurs. As I told you, in timber formwork, what happens is, because of the water coming onto the timber formwork, there are chances of shrinkage as well as swelling, whereas in steel formwork this can be eliminated here. Let us see what are the disadvantages of steel formwork. More expensive than wood. See here, this is the disadvantages. The cost is increasing because we are using steel formwork, whereas when we use timber formwork, that cost can be reduced a lot, but still it has some disadvantages. The time consumption there, it takes long time. Here the time can be reduced here. So this is the disadvantage. Everything has advantages as well as disadvantages, but still steel formwork is used more extensively when compared to timber formwork. Due to high weight, handling is difficult. See, this is one problem where we are constructing huge structures, big skyscrapers. There at those places, what happens, this problem comes up. The handling of this steel formwork is difficult. So this is a disadvantage here. Excessive loss of heat, as it is made up of steel. What happens when we pour fresh concrete onto the formwork, some heat is also lost because of this type of formwork. Limited size and shapes, we can't come up with any size or shape here, whereas in timber formwork, as I had explained you, it can be cut to any size. As per our requirement, it can be cut to any size, whereas in steel formwork you have a limited size and shape here. So let us see here, plastic formwork. Even this type of formwork has been come up now with extensive use of plastic. Even this type of formwork has come. Let us see what you can see here. This whole building, you can just see the walls have been erected using this plastic formwork. You can just see here the whole wall. This is the plastic formwork. This whole wall is been erected using this formwork. You can just imagine, whereas if you use timber formwork or other steel formwork, this is not possible, but with the plastic formwork this is possible here. You can just see this whole formwork. This is a plastic formwork. You can just see, after erecting this formwork, once the concrete has been poured, it can be removed very easily. So this formwork is also, it has lot of benefits here. Let us see See, advantages of plastic formwork, it is lightweight. It is very much lightweight. When the formwork is very lightweight, it can be transported very easily. It is reusable also. As we had seen the requirements for a formwork, it should be reusable also. It is chemical resistant also. What happens, some formworks, because of the different chemicals acting onto it, the formwork deteriorates. But here the plastic formwork is chemical resistant also. Fungus and termite resistant also. It can resist these type of attacks also, fungus and termite resistant also. Next, it can be easily cut and nailed by using woodworking. The same way how we use the timber formwork, the same way this plastic formwork can be cut and nailed very easily also. Let us see, the damages on the formwork can be easily removed. The same way, if in steel formwork you have some damage, the whole part should be removed, whereas in this formwork, if there is little damage, it can be replaced with the other formwork as per our requirement. Very useful for complex shape and special features, where we come up with some complex shapes and features. At those places, this type of formwork plays a very important role here. Let us see what are the disadvantages of plastic formwork. It is expensive at first. So as in the requirements of formwork, we had seen the economy part also should be taken care of, but it is expensive. So this is the thing. Load carrying capacity is low. Huge loads can't be, this formwork can't bear huge loads coming onto it. So this is the disadvantages. Next, the damage in plastic by the heat. Because of the heat of the concrete coming onto it, there is damage also. So hope this session was helpful to you all. I request all of you all to please go through this lecture, and if you all have any questions, you can comment in the comment section. Thanks a lot for this session.